Present.
Commissioner DeBonda. Commissioner Ellis.
Here.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Lark.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Ruddy.
Here.
Commissioner Sweeney.
Here.
Back to Commissioner DeBonda. Commissioner Jones. Mr. Chairman, you got a quorum. Missing Jones and DeBonda.
Yeah, Tom, thank you. Let's go ahead, given the hour, 1 o'clock, public meeting, just a note of thanks again to all our commissioners who are here for your service on the commission. I'll say thank you in advance to presenters today, particularly Dr. Robinson. Thank you for being here. Look forward to your conversation. Always want to give a shout out to Nicole Crone, who is holding us up in many ways. So thank you for your support and doing the virtual meeting management today. Just from an administrative standpoint, if you're speaking, please identify yourself, spell your name, speak slowly for the stenographer. We'll try to capture that. Remind you that if you launch into your reports and you haven't spelled the name, we'll try to let you know that. So with that, and again, just really appreciate everyone being here and our stakeholders. Thank you for your support. As noted, this meeting is in the property sunshine. By way of notice, the commission conducted an executive session to engage in quasi-judicial deliberation to be adjudicated at a public meeting and engage in attorney-client privilege communication earlier today. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in the public meeting. First item of business being the approval of November 26, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion, Commissioner Stewart on the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Presentation, let's go to the Racing Fund December financial report. Tom, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Starting out.
Commissioner Jones joining the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Starting off, the month started with a $3.1 million beginning balance. Total revenue for the month was 1.7. Total expenditures were 2.8, leaving an ending cash balance of $2 million. On to the commission. Total revenues were $669,000. Total personnel costs were $441,000. Total operating was $667,000. I would bring your attention to the administrative allocation. Each year, the commission and testing has an administrative allocation. This year it's $589,000. That's what brought the total to $667,000. Total expenditures are $1,109,000. Questions? Moving on to testing. Total revenue is a little over $1 million, $1,042,000. Personnel costs are $348,000. Total operating was $1,332,000. You'll notice, as I said in the previous, $613,000 is the admin allocation attributed to testing. Total expenditures are $1.6 million. On to promotions this month. The advertising, there was a $5,000 distribution. Year-to-date, $734,000 has been distributed. Other grants are in the process of being paid. We were pretty much up to date and on time on the submissions. Any questions so far? Moving on to the comparative year-to-date. Total revenue is $9.6 million versus $6.5 last year. You'll notice that due to budgetary constraints last year, the major difference is $4.3 million is on the resource development transfers to $5 million this year versus $719 last year. Personnel costs are 5.8 versus 5.4, approximately a 7% increase. If you'll remember, the union and the Commonwealth employees got a raise last year, that's the majority of it. Going down, total operating is 6.1 versus 4.4. One of the major differences is the admin allocation this year was $1.2 million. This, due to budget constraints last year, wasn't paid until either February or March, so that will catch up and even up. So the total operating and the total expenditures of 11.9 versus 9.8 are somewhat skewed because you're missing $1.2 million. Any questions so far? On the other three accounts, the Breeders' Fund has approximately, Thoroughbred Breeders' Fund has 6.2 million, Standardbred Breeders' Fund has 9.2 million, and the Sire Stakes has 1.4. That's the financial report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Questions or comments on the December financial report? Any comments on this one?
I guess I'll ask, on the comparative statement, the dramatic difference between taxes and penalties and non-tax revenue. What's the cause of that? I understand the ratio.
Hang on one second. I'll have to double check. I noticed this, I'll find out, because basically Commissioner Rogers, I'll double check and find out. But if you compare basically 4.5 this year, if you take the 1,092,000 plus the 3.5 and add the other two together to 5.8, I think the discrepancy is about $1,003,000. And let me find out exactly where that is.
I'm wondering if part of it has to do with misclassification possibly between the 2 months.
Could be, I'll get you an answer to that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Questions? Ms. Sia? Somebody on the screen have a question? It's all. Oh, okay. Thank you. So Dr. Robinson, welcome. Good to see you. We'll do a year-end report. Always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Redding and Commissioners. Thank you for having me this afternoon. This is the year-end report for the research at PETRL, and I have some slides for you today. I also provided the list. However, I thought instead of reading over most of the list, which is a lot of it I presented in October, I'm going to highlight a couple of what I think are the most exciting research advancements that we've had in 2024. So if you go to the first slide. There we go. So one of the biggest projects that we have ongoing indefinitely is to continue to expand our databases and spectral libraries. So these are the databases and libraries that we use for our screening tests. So when we get a sample, either a blood or urine sample, from the horse that raced, we use these screening tests that contain hundreds of drugs to do targeted drug analysis for hundreds of different drugs. Now, obviously that list is confidential, but we are constantly adding to that list. And so I wanted to show you a snapshot of the program that's used. This is a form of artificial intelligence that we've been working with for some time now. And what it does is it looks for key identifying characteristics for the drugs that are on the list to see if those are found in any of the samples that are put through the test. This alleviates our time spent manually going through all of the data for each sample for every single drug. And so it's been a huge improvement that we've been working on for several years, but it's really, I mean, we've got one test that has over 500 drugs in it. So in a single sample, you can put it through this test and screen for over 500 drugs using this automated technology. And the abstracts in your list, abstracts 3 and 4, presented some of this data at the ASMS conference in 2024. So that's one of the really big exciting things that we've been working on. And it is ongoing. As I mentioned, we're going to keep adding to these targeted databases. If you go to the next project I want to highlight for this year is one that we started earlier this year called, and it's looking at a class of substances called perfluorocarbons. Perfluorocarbons are everywhere. We all are exposed to them. We all consume them. But there are some of these that have an increase in oxygen carrying capacity and can be used as blood doping agents. So we have developed tests for these blood doping, this class of blood doping agents. It does require use of a GCMS that you see pictured there. The graph on the right shows the detection of the one particular type of perfluorocarbon, looking at the key characteristics that identify that perfluorocarbon. And we are expanding this test to include more. We've got 11 so far, and we're going to keep adding some more that can be used as blood doping agents. That correlates to abstracts number 1 and 8 on the written list that you've received. The third slide, this is a project that is being completed by the postdoctoral fellow, Dr. Bethany Keene, that the commission is partially supporting. So she has a postdoctoral fellowship from the Racing Medication and Testing Consortium that covers most of her salary, and the commission is supporting the rest of it. She started a couple of years ago now. This will be the completion of her second year this coming May. And one of the key projects that she worked on is trying to use something called metabolomics to detect bisphosphonates. So bisphosphonates are a drug class that you may or may not have heard of. It's clondronate is one example that you can see in the far left there. It inhibits what's called an osteoclast. It's a cell that's in your bones that helps to break down and eat up bone that's damaged. And so by inhibiting the breakdown of bone, you can promote an increase in the amount of bone in that region. It's approved for treating horses that have something called navicular disease. The navicular bone is at the very bottom of their foot. It's the bone that's in the hoof. And sometimes that can get kind of like holy, like it looks like spongy, where it doesn't have enough bone. And if you use this drug, that can cause the bone to increase in that area. Unfortunately, we know that people have been using bisphosphonates in young horses as well, sometimes before the sales to try and make their x-rays look better. And so they are banned in racehorses, and we have several tests that we can use to look for them, but they are difficult to detect sometimes because they go to the bone and they stick in the bone and they get released very, very slowly, which means the amounts that are in the blood are very low. So we wanted to look at using a technique called metabolomics, where instead of looking at the drug itself, you're looking at all the metabolites within the blood sample, and specifically within the serum part of that sample. And by looking at the pattern of those metabolites, Bethany was able to use a mathematical model which identified horses that were controls and untreated with bisphosphonates from horses that were treated with bisphosphonates using these metabolites. So it's not looking at the drug itself, but it's looking at the effect of the drug on the body and on the metabolome within the body. So it's really exciting that we were able to see this model that could separate out horses that were treated from horses that weren't treated, because that gives us the potential of using this as another screening tool to look for horses that may have been exposed to bisphosphonates when we can't actually detect the bisphosphonate itself. So Dr. Keene, I'm happy to say, is going to be staying on with us for another couple of years. So I'm glad to keep her around, and it's been really, really great having her as a postdoctoral fellow in the lab. The next slide is I wanted to talk a little bit about the work that we've been doing on untargeted detection. And so what do I mean by untargeted detection? Well, the first slide I showed you a database that we've been working on to put targets in. So we know what drugs are in that database. They are drugs that we're specifically looking for. Untargeted detection, the goal is to be able to identify anything that horse has been given, even though we don't know exactly what may have been given. And it's a daunting task. It is taking essentially what Bethany's tried to do, right? Is you're looking at all the components in that blood sample and all the things that are coming out of the mass spec, and then trying to compare that to a control population where you know nothing was given. And so the little schematic on the right there is from a publication that we had from 2021, entitled Novel Algorithms for Comprehensive Untargeted Detection of Doping Agents in Biological Samples. That was our first publication in this area. And Dr. Fuyu Wan is the lead investigator on this. He came up with an algorithm, a mathematical algorithm, to be able to compare the control samples to horses that had substances in their sample, and identify those substances without actually targeting and telling the machine to look for those substances. He was able to do that with this algorithm that he came up with. And he's continued to work on it. We've got another 2 publications in 2023. And the RMTC also provided a grant for him to support this work. So that supports part of a technician as well as some supplies, and the Raising Commission supports his salary, of course my salary, and the equipment and the building and all of the other, and the rest of the technician and all of those things. But it at least does help to offset some of the costs of this project, the grant that we got from the Raising Mitigation and Testing Consortium. So if you go to the next slide. I wanted to thank you all for your support. This is one of our research horses out in the field, and I'll take any questions that you have for me.
Robinson, thank you. I always appreciate there are folks with have a different sort of skill set than I do, and their appreciation for chemistry and physics. Anytime that you hear that someone's building sort of an equation or a model for purposes of detection of some of the metabolics, I find it sort of fascinating. But it is sort of where we live, right? It is the type of issue that we're confronted all the time. Just back to the very beginning, just to say that I think the expansion of the databases and the Spectre library, I mean, is that a shared library, across this galaxy of RSI and others who are holding other pieces of the library?
So it's an internal library.
Okay.
However, we do have agreements with some of the other labs to share that library. So there are non-disclosure agreements and things in place through the university that allow us to share that library for those who are interested.
Okay.
But it has to be obviously an academic and drug testing entity, or academic or drug testing entity that's going to keep that confidential. As I said, keeping that list confidential is clearly really important for us.
And then just final question for me, just on the use of AI. It's sort of intrigued by it. It shows up more and more, obviously, the general sort of discussion that we're having at a farm production level, but also here at the line system. So, how is that employed? When you look at what you're doing, like where does the AI specifically fit in either the undetected aspects or the database system?
Yeah, it's definitely something we're employing more and more of. At the simplest level, you can think of it as machine learning, right? Where you tell the machine what you want it to do, and then it does it automatically for you. And so we use that for the targeted screening. We're using it to say these are the characteristics that we want you to look for, and if you find them, we want you to tell us. And so that's one side of the AI. Then with the untargeted work, it's a mathematical algorithm that it's taking. There are 2 parameters that were identified to be able to distinguish peaks of interest, essentially. So, when we get this data from the instrument, it's a ginormous amount of data, right? We get all of these little peaks that the instrument is telling us that it's seen, thousands and thousands of peaks. And we need to hone in on, well, which peaks are important? Which ones are the ones that are unique that we want to know more about? And so we're using the AI to compare the peaks in controls with the peaks in either administration, samples that are from horses that were administered the drug intentionally, We've been running this on post-grade samples for the last few months, so we've got, I believe out of 520 or so sets, we've got 112 of them run, so we're looking at the post-grade samples that have things in them as well as those that don't, to try and help that tell us, well, what is normally found there and what is not. So it's kind of like taking the whole batch of data and then interrogating it to see what kinds of patterns the computer can find. Because at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is really about patterns, pattern recognition, and the computer identifying patterns in these large data sets and putting it all together for us in ways that our brains can't easily do, at least most of us.
That's fine. Thank you. So, other questions, comments? We'll always appreciate the updates and the good work. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, Tom, to HISA.
Quick update on HISA. As you're aware, there are 3 agreements: the racetrack safety, the IGA, which is the anti-doping, and the lab services agreement. They all expired 12/31/24. The commission had entered into an original 30-day extension. Now it's been extended to a 60-day extension. We've signed a new one for a 60-day extension. We're currently working on the documents and the financial pieces of this. Nothing to report at this time.
Tom, thank you. Any updates, further updates? Council? Sure. Thank you. All right, so on to administrative actions. We've got a couple motions here. Tom, I'll turn to you, please.
There are only 2 motions today. First motion is to approve the simulcast calendars for the harness tracks for February 2025. That would be for Harris, Mohegan Sun, Pocono Downs, and the Meadows.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Need a motion to approve the simulcast calendars for February.
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Reihenheiser on the motion, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, and Commissioner Rogers on the second, thank you. Discussion of this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions, motion carries, thank you.
Next motion is to approve the simulcast calendars for February 2025 for the thoroughbred tracks, Parks, Penn National, and Prescott Downs.
Tom, thank you. We have a motion.
I will make such a motion.
Commissioner DeVando on the motion, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ruddy on the second. Discussion of this motion. Hearing none, those in favor of approving the simulcast calendars for thoroughbred tracks for February, say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. Adjudications. Councilman.
Thank you, Chairman. Presently, we have this matter before the commission, which is an appeal from the denial of a trainer's license filed by Ramon Preciado. Mr. Preciado filed an application on December 4th, 2023 for a trainer's license. Excuse me, on April 4th, 2024, the Director of Licensing denied the license application on the basis of previous conduct and corrupt actions as a trainer, which pose a threat to the integrity of the racing industry, the general public interest, and the effective regulation and control of horse racing. This matter was set for a hearing on December 2nd, 2024, and no briefs were filed in this matter. The commission has now had an opportunity to review the transcript and the proposed adjudication, and I'll read the following order, and it can be done as a motion. And now, this 28th day of January 2025, upon consideration of the testimony and exhibits of record, it is ordered that the decision of the Director of Licensing to deny a trainer license to Ramon Preciado is hereby affirmed.
Council, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the order?
So moved.
Commissioner Sweet on the motion, Commissioner Ellis on the second.
Second.
Several seconds, thank you. Discussion of the motion. discussion of this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to licensing. Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President, before the commission is an SPMO application filed by PointsBet Racing LLC. This matter was delayed. This matter was delayed from December and has been brought before this commission. I'll read, as I normally do with these matters, I'll read a proposed order and have the commission vote on it, if that's okay with you. And now this 28th day of January 2025, in accordance with sections 9322 and 9351B2 of the Racing Act, the above applicant is seeking to renew its secondary parimutuel racing organization license as defined in section 9301 of the Racing Act to conduct advanced deposit wagering in Pennsylvania. Pursuant to the Act, this SPMO license is valid for a period of 1 year, commencing retroactively from January 1st, 2025. In accordance with the statutory and regulatory authority, the Commission has reviewed the submitted renewal application and the pertinent information from the SPMO, including any subsequent changes from its previously approved license application. In addition, the above applicant has submitted statutory licensing fees associated with the SPMO renewal application. Based upon the Commission's review and consideration, it is ordered that the above referenced SPMO license renewal application is hereby granted for the year 2025. Such approval is issued upon the general conditions of compliance set forth in the Act and with the following specific conditions. Number one, the SPMO will continue to comply with all SPMO operational provisions and commission orders, tax obligations, horsemen's purse distributions, and the license renewal provisions set forth in the Racing Act. Number two, the SPMO shall provide the commission with written notice of any modifications, changes, or amendments to its SPMO renewal application as submitted and approved by the commission. Number three, the SPMO shall provide the commission written notification of the election to terminate or modify operations within the Commonwealth no later than 15 business days after such election. And finally, number four, the SPMO understands that its license may not be conveyed, assigned, or transferred to any other person or third party without the prior approval of the commission. And that can be done as a motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the order for the SPMO PointsBet Racing?
So moved, Rogers.
Commissioner Rogers, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ruddy on the second. We have discussion of this motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, please register me as abstaining on this.
Motion carries with one abstention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Tony, general reports?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just remind everyone, please spell your name to the benefit of the court reporter when I call in. We'll start off with Scott Lisher from the Meadows. Scott?
Yes, Scott Lisha, SCOTTLIS, as in Sam, HIA, Director of Racing at the Meadows. Thank you very much, Tony, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Been dealing with weather like everyone else. We have been racing. Fortunately, we have not missed any days. We were permitted to shift our schedule a little bit, 1 week. And big shout out, not only to the horsemen, for cooperating and working with us, but my track crew. They've been doing an incredible job, not only maintaining the track for racing, but training as well. And other than that, thank you very much.
Okay, Scott, thank you. Mike Solinger from Pocono. Mike?
Thank you, Tony. It's Mike Zullinger, MikeZullinger. Not much to report this month, other than we're getting ready for racing here. We start qualifying on February 10th and 11th, which is Monday and Tuesday. The track will be open that Wednesday for training, and our first day of racing will be Saturday, February 15th. Right now, the track is nice and insulated with a coat of snow, so our track crew will be starting the week before to get that off and the surface ready to race. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. That went by quick, didn't it? A little shut down.
It did go like that. It always goes like that.
Thanks, Mike. Barry Brown from Harris. Barry?
Thanks, Tony. Barry Brown, B-A-R-R-Y, B-R-O-W-N, Director of Racing Operations for Harris, Philadelphia. Since our last meeting, we did conclude our 2024 season on New Year's Eve. We ended up with a great December. On Christmas Eve, we set our all-time handle record of just under 1.6 million. On New Year's Eve, we just missed $1 million, so we had a great December. 2025 for us will be right around the corner with opening day set for April 11th, and that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Excuse me, Joe Wilson from Marks. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Joe Wilson, Joe-E-W-I-L-S-O-N. Like everyone else, we're in the middle of winter. Unfortunately, we lost all 3 days last week, just way too cold. Back racing this week. We actually, with the help from the commission, the horsemen, we added Thursday this week. So we're making up one of those days, and hope it's all behind us. That's all I got.
Thanks, Joe. Eric Johnson from Penn National. Eric?
Thanks, Tony. We're in the middle of our winter hiatus right now, so we are halfway through. Start taking entries Thursday and Friday this week for the return on February 6th and 7th. Looking forward to warmer days, hopefully, by the time we get back to racing, and everything's good. Everything's fine.
Thanks, Eric. Matt Ennis from Presque Isle. Matt?
This is Matthew Ennis, M-E-T-T-H-E-W-E-N-N-I-S, Senior Director of Operations here at Presque Isle Downs. Nothing much to report here outside of approaching 100 inches of snow here in Erie. We have received our final quotes for backside repairs. We will get back there and begin the repairs as soon as we possibly can with our excessive snowfall this season. We'll do everything we can to try to have all the barns available to the horsemen by opening the backside, which is April 21st. But I feel very confident that we will have all barns available by the time we start live racing May 19th. So just waiting for some access points to our backside to begin repairs, and look forward to our 2025 season beginning this May. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Mr. Beagle's here with us in the room, but he's a little bashful today, which is unusual for him, so we'll go to Mike Moran from the PHHA. Mike?
Thanks, Tony. Mike Harant, H-A-R-A-N-T, Executive Director of the PHHA. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. I'm actually up here sitting with Mike Zellinger. I'm up at Pocono, just making sure we're ready here. Looks like we are. February 15th, not that far. We had a very good weekend last weekend out at Bedford, the USDA district meeting and fair banquet. It was a nice event. And we hope to see you there next year too. I think we're going to State College next year for that event. So we're almost back. Pocono's just around the corner and Chester's not far behind. So thanks, Tony.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Donnell from the MSOA?
We have no report.
No report. Okay. Jeff Matty from the PTHA. Jeff?
Thanks, Tony. This is Jeff, last name Matty, M-A-T-T-Y, Executive Director of the PTHA. Just to echo what Joe said, we're running Thursday. Just want to thank everyone involved for that. My first time kind of adding a day with short notice, but I thank Joe and his team. I thank Tom, Izzy, Dr. Colazzo and their team. A lot of moving parts that went into it for the benefit of our horsemen here, so very appreciative. And then a follow-up, we have our Horsemen's Awards on February 15th. So I know I sent some invites out if anyone is interested in that. It's at Celebrations right down the road, and again, that'll be Saturday, February 15th. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Do we have Todd Mosteller from the HBPA? No? No. Jim and Mike Simpson from the Standardbred Feeders, you guys on?
Yep, Mike Simpson, M-I-S-I-M-P-S-O-N. No report today.
Okay, Mike. And Brian Sanfratello from the Thoroughbred
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Brian Sanfratello, BRIANSANFRATELLO. All right, in your handouts, you'll see the final for the money transferring to the breeding fund for 2024, 13.9 million, additional 1.1 million from the 25% deposit after racing fund expenses for a total of little over 15 million. That was 2024. Comparing it to 23 and 22, you can see it there, 18 million and 23. That was up a bit in 23 because they were not taking out any expenses for 6 months of that time period. So 22 is better. Barometers, a little over 17 million. All right, we're in the middle of our well, in fact, we're almost finished our annual staying season auction. Breeding season starts February 15th. And I've attached two reports, thoroughbred newsletters, because I didn't have one. January wasn't out yet last month when I was here. So you now have January and February, and you can see the new stallion roster on February's. We have 9 new stallions. We have, I think, 2 others that are going to be coming in for this season, which will make 11 new stallions. 2 of the points that were brought up by the breeders were, number 1, those stallions or not a turnover of stallions, bringing new ones in. So that was achieved with the new ones that are coming in, and then also no place to put your mare. We visited a couple of farms, and with Northview no longer here in Diamond B, a lot of mares were actually at those 2 farms for foaling. We visited a couple new farms, and they gave us an okay to bring in as many as we could bring in. So that's being addressed this year also, and all we have to do is get them here. Any questions? Thank you.
That's it for the industry reports, Mr. Chairman. We do have one public comment about the land law. You're up.
It's Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, Langlois, L-A-N-G-L-O-I-S. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to make some comments. First off, I wanted to thank both the Commission and the racing directors for their reports in November on explaining the rationale behind their takeout rates. It was really educational for myself personally, and definitely for a lot of the racing fans and handicappers. A lot of us, I think, did not realize how closely takeout was tied in kind of with host fees and things of that nature. So thank you for taking that suggestion, and to the racing directors for providing that information. Just a couple of other things that I usually ask for at the beginning of the year or request of the Commission would be to either look at or form a committee to kind of look at the feasibility of creating a regulation that there is a mandated veterinary chase truck for all thoroughbred races to follow the horse's rounds, to be able to provide care as quickly as possible to the horse that may become injured or in distress. The possibility of switching stewards' rulings from Category 2 rules to Category 1, which a lot of us feel is a much fairer way to adjudicate races as compared to the Category 2 system. The Category 1 system, for those that don't know, is pretty much what's being used around the rest of the world. North America is about the only area that still uses Category 2 rules. The final two, this was, I think, brought up by one commissioner, I can't remember who, a while ago, but asking the Commission to maybe have somebody come in to speak on the topic of what they call computer-assisted wagering, or CAW accounts, which are having a very detrimental effect on the not only the average handicapper, but a lot of the bigger time handicappers. And I won't go into all the details on it now. There's people that understand it a lot better than me, but it is something that I think the commission needs to be aware of, and potentially, if there's a way to figure out exactly how much of an effect it's having on handle and PA. Because it is a big issue around a lot of tracks. Some tracks have done some things to curtail it a little bit. I think both can work, but right now there's a huge concern about the effect that these computer-assisted wagering platforms have on the general handicapper. And then the final thing that I would ask would be to look into what would be involved potentially working with the state government or the legislature in introducing fixed odds betting to Pennsylvania. It's currently available in New Jersey, and I think a couple of other states are in the process of figuring it out. There is a push to hopefully have fixed odds, which would not allow the wild odds swings that we're seeing, again, partly due to the CAW accounts, and would allow handicappers to potentially at least know kind of what return they're getting onto that. So that's it. Thanks so much.
We want to thank you. Thanks for the insight. We'll take a look at those points as we do, and offer some feedback at future meetings. Thank you. With that, any other public comments?
Yeah, I would like to make two comments, Mr. President, Chairman.
Sure.
One is I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And two, let's make Pennsylvania proud, not only in horse racing, as we've been for many years, but at the Super Bowl. So good luck to the Eagles at the Super Bowl. With that, I have no other remarks.
Okay. Other comments? Just a couple of endpoints. One, we just concluded last week a very successful fair convention. All attended, a lot of good feedback, at least for the first time in about 12 years, impact study in leading fairs. Has that $1 billion impact on 7 fairs in PA. So that's good news. Again, to those who are fair fans, but also that's all part of that economic enterprise. And just another thanks, again, we do a lot of presentations to fair boards while they're there, they're using for continuing education. I know that Tony an opportunity to talk about the fairs and work with them with those organizers. So again, just another thanks. We're the fair season, we'll start again here in a couple of months. And speaking of seasons, the fiscal year budget begins, the budget address next Tuesday. Governor, this will again be an interesting budget discussion. I say it every day. Just because you have it doesn't mean you get it, keep it. Right? There are discussions, decisions, there are things we'll have to decide. Don't assume, please, that just because it's in a line item somewhere, that all continues. Every one of these budgets is an open budget discussion. I expect the same will be this year as well, with some big issues. So my ask of anybody, and certainly the department and connected to the department, particularly where you've got line items of particular interest, is to always express sort of appreciation for, let somebody know that they matter. Talk to your local legislators and senators. The value of a letter, I'll underscore a letter, not an email. Just send it up, right? And say, you know what, that couple of dollars, whatever it is, has made a really big difference. A number of times that I'm asked about a particular line item, because I don't really care whether it's there or not, you would be surprised, because they don't know, right? We know the value, but on the other end, you're looking at thousands of line items in the budget, sometimes difficult to tell what is important to part of the sector. We have spent considerable time and multiple meetings talking about the future of things, certainly in racing, and the needs for investment, continued investments are part of that. So please, just take a moment and express that appreciation to House and Senate members and the governor as well. So with that, take note that the next meeting will be February the 25th at 1 o'clock in this room. So with that, any final comments, thoughts? Hearing none, motion to adjourn.
said yes, thank you.